Hello everybody and welcome back, and today I've got an Ibuki replay for all of you, and this is actually one of mine. And why am I putting up an Ibuki replay, you ask? Well, the other day I put up a Zao replay and started reading some of the comments, and I saw a couple of people really having, I guess, minor issues, maybe struggles with this particular ship, and I thought, I've played the Ibuki and I've always found her to be a relatively easy ship to play, and so I don't really understand why some people are having struggles with it. So I figured, hey, I can make a video, maybe give you guys some pointers, and maybe your Ibuki performance will become a lot better, and then maybe you'll like the ship. So, we'll see. I mean, I'll make the video. You guys let me know at the end if this is maybe giving you some ideas about how to play the ship and whatnot. Oh yeah, also by the way, the in-game chat at the beginning was actually pretty cool in this particular battle. All right, one other piece of news that I got to talk about before the battle actually takes off is that I've sorted through all the 50k race replays and I've gone through all the submitted art. I have already contacted all the people who've won via email. I'm just waiting for their reply before I actually finalize the video, just because I got to finalize what the prices are going to be, because I'm not really sure where everybody is from. So you will get the results of that competition, I guess, ASAP. Now, onto the Ibuki. Let's actually talk about the Ibuki for a minute and really sort of try to talk about her strengths and her weaknesses. So the Ibuki is very different from the 203 Mogami. Well, the 203 Mogami really lacked range, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people play the 155 Mogami. The Ibuki has range, and plenty of it. I mean, your max range is somewhere, 19.2 kilometers, and with that kind of range, you can actually hit stuff at distance and be relatively safe from return fire. Now, again, with the Ibuki, your primary targets are going to be battleships. Again, you have Japanese 203mm HE shells that do good HE damage, and they have pretty solid fire chance. So that's really what you're going to be doing with the Ibuki. You're going to be, most of the time, trying to stay a little bit at range where people will struggle to hit you. And then, of course, in the event that you have to deal with something a little bit maybe closer up, you want to put yourself into an advantageous kiting position. So ideally, a way to sort of kite away from the incoming ship. And then as you're kiting away, fire some torpedoes at them and hopefully maybe score a torpedo hit here and there. And that's it. That's really the Ibuki secret, is that sort of staying at that range where the enemy doesn't really feel comfortable shooting at you, also giving yourself as much time to react by dodging as you possibly can, and then all the while slinging as much HE at them as possible and setting as many fires as possible. As long as you do that with the Ibuki, you should do reasonably well. So, in this particular battle, now my position at the beginning of the battle might not have been ideal now that I think about it. I was actually kind of distracted by talking to people in chat, and I totally missed where I was going. So, ended up in a slightly bad position, didn't really want to go into the cap, but it's okay. I mean, it's still early on, and most of the enemy ships that are of threat, the battleships, are way more to the north, so not too worried. So I go in there, and I do take care of a Shimakaze. Again, 203mm high explosive, nice and lethal. Of course, there is a Neptune, and well, if you looked at the Neptune's armor profile, you know the Neptune has this huge citadel, and of course this Neptune's giving me a broadside, just trying to peek out from behind the island, can't get back fast enough, so AP salvo in there, 6 citadel hits, almost 30k damage. The Neptune just gets absolutely wrecked. I don't even think that Neptune actually did anything this battle. I took that huge salvo on him, started repairing a little bit, but the amount of focus fire and those torpedoes, I mean, done. Neptune died really, there we go, he's gone. Very early death, shall we say. Now that I've dealt with the, I guess, cruisers near me, and I'm in a better position now too, at least from an Ibuki's perspective, having this island right here to act as cover, I start to focus on battleships that are a little bit further away. Now you'll see that the position that I'm in, where I have a little bit of cover, is also at a position where the enemy team might be more focused on shooting other things that are a bit closer to them, and that's sort of the ideal position for an Ibuki. Now, the ideal position really is that you have some stuff in front of you, maybe even some stuff near you, where they're going to take more of the threat. And as the Ibuki, you're going to be in that sort of position and raining down as much HE as possible. Now, the thing about the Ibuki, to be successful with the Ibuki, you really have to get used to shooting with your guns. Like, you have to get used to that slightly longer shell travel time, and you have to get used to hitting stuff at range. And it does take a little bit of time and a little bit of practice to get right. But once you can land reliable hits, and you don't even have to do it at max range, which is 19 kilometers. You don't have to really do it at that kind of range. As long as you can reliably hit stuff at, like, let's say 15 kilometers, and at the same time you stay in either cover or you stay evasive so that you're a difficult target to hit, you should still do relatively well. Mind you, your HE hurts, right? I put a salvo into that Montana, got a couple fires, and put in like 6,500 damage. And that's good damage for a cruiser against a battleship. And as long as I'm also here, you'll notice that I'm not spotted, right? And that's another thing. When you're playing the Ibuki, you really have to be mindful of when you want to be spotted and when you want to be stealthed up. Now, let's say you're playing the Ibuki and sort of elaborating more on that stealthed up idea. Let's say you are with a group of enemy ships and you're, again, a little bit further back where you don't draw as much attention. Then there, you can shoot and be detected, no problems. But let's say you're all by yourself and there's a large group of enemy ships. You don't want to fire and attract all of that attention. So use your stealth, slip away, maybe toss a couple of torpedoes if they're coming towards you. And then once you get back into a better position, then start opening fire again. Alright, so enemy Iowa over here is sort of peeking out. So in this kind of position, again, where I know I've got a certain degree of cover, or at least I can get back into cover quickly, I will take a couple of pot shots here. And even if I get spotted, it's not really the biggest deal, as I know I'm not really going to be taking that much fire in response. Again, with the Ibuki, situational awareness, like where you are, where the enemy ships are, and all that is going to be quite important too. So again, on that Iowa, I got about just over 4,000 damage, but that was a freebie. Like, I got it, I didn't respond with any sort of return fire, so perfect. Again, go back into a place, try to again take cover so I don't take any return fire. Alright, so the enemy Des Moines over there looked like, I think he was initially backing up a little bit, but then he started to go forward. So there we go. Yeah, not much of a hit there, only about one shell hit, but immediately spot a better target, Yamato's. Now, Ibuki's ideal target really is battleships. Like, you want to ideally shoot at stuff where even at a distance, they're not going to be able to dodge as effectively. You really want to go after those targets, and that's battleships. The Ibuki's ideal target is really just to set battleships on fire and deal with them, right, while your team deals with sort of everything else. When dealing with the battleships, and let's say a particular enemy team that's pushing against you, the Ibuki is also advantaged in the sense that her torpedo launchers have better arcs towards sort of the rear of the ship. So what you really want to do with Japanese cruisers is kite. So you want to be running away from the enemy team, wiggling your rear, right, making it difficult for them to hit you. And when there's a break in the firing, and you really have to time enemy sort of shells, you got to time when they fire, how long their reload is, and when they're going to fire again. During the gaps in those shots, you swing out your rear a little bit more, launch the torpedoes, and then you turn back and continue to kite and continue to fire. And what happens is if the enemy ships are chasing you, there's a chance that they might run into one of those torpedoes. And then, of course, you get some extra damage, you get some flooding, and so much better. Again, you'll see that a lot of times I am just focusing on shooting battleships because battleship targets at distance generally tend to be easier to hit. So if you're playing Ibuki, that's like the first thing you want to do, right? So let's give you a rule of thumb. Let's say you stay at, let's say around 15 kilometers. How about that? Stay around 15 kilometers, shell battleships. Make sure you're not alone. Make sure you're somewhere around your own team. And that's it. Let's use that rule and let's go with it. One thing you have to be careful of course, is that it is still a Japanese cruiser. It's not the Zhao yet. So your sigil is still relatively easy to hit. So you do need to depend on either stealth or you want to depend on maneuverability. So do consider either going stealth build or using the steering gears mod 3. So if you go with steering gears mod 3, which is what I've been playing with recently, you're really sort of expecting the enemy to shoot at you, and then you're hoping that you can use your superior rudder shift to maneuver out of those shots and basically throw the enemy's shot off. That's what you really want to be doing if you're using the rudder shift. If you're using the concealment module, of course, you want to make use of stealth fire. So check what your detectability range is and then try to stay, well, detectability range when you're firing your guns, check that range and try to stay outside of that. And as you can tell, I mean, you know, I'm already added like 112,000 damage, so it's not bad. But right around here, you'll see what I'll end up doing is I will throw some torpedoes. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to kite away, and as I'm kiting away, I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut off this battleship's potential routes of escape. So if this battleship tends to want to come out either of those two gaps, might have one of those torpedoes hit. And that's pretty much what you do with the Japanese torpedoes, is that if you're kiting away, you throw some torpedoes where the advancing enemy team might run into. Hopefully you get a couple more torpedo hits, and then you keep slinging HE. And that's it for the Ibuki, really. I mean, that's the Ibuki's playstyle in a very simple explanation. You just sort of stay at that sort of, like, let's say 12 to maybe 15 kilometer range, ideally around your own teammates, and hopefully not doing that and exposing a little bit too much broadside and eating a Citadel salvo. Hopefully not that, but, you know, and then of course using your torpedoes when necessary. And by doing those things in combination, as long as your aim is good, and make sure you have to practice the aim with Ibuki, you should get decent results. I mean, I think right now my average damage with an Ibuki is, if I remember correctly, around 78,000 damage per battle on average, which means a lot of my battles actually end up being in excess of 100,000 damage just by simply following these relatively easy rules, right? Just you know, stay at that mid to sort of higher ranges where battleships, if they fire at you, there's quite a bit of shell travel time, and then you sort of stay at that range, and you wiggle and dodge and turn and do a lot of these little evasive maneuvers, and you rain down HE on them and set as many fires as you humanly can, and you should be able to rack up the damage and help your team. Alright, now, ships you really struggle to deal with. Ships like the Zhao, those are hard ships to deal with. Zhao's firepower is, well, pretty much superior to yours in every single sense of the word. You know, the Zhao's armor profile is better. Zhao's are really a tough ship to fight if you're in Ibuki. Again, it's kind of the reason why you really need the team. By this stage of the battle, though, it didn't really matter anymore. We were so far in the lead, and we had all the caps. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to try to get whatever damage I can out of these enemy ships before the battle ends. And, you know, if it's a Zhao, I'm going to go pick on a Zhao, though normally in my normal Ibuki gameplay, I would try to avoid fighting Zhaos, just because they're not really good targets to fight. They have that phenomenal ability to output damage in both HE, and they also have that phenomenal ability to output damage in their AP, which I am about to get screwed right there by that Zhao salvo. Ouch. And then, of course, another Zhao off to my side shot me again. So, yeah. Whoops. Oh, well, you know, didn't manage to get a fire there. Didn't manage to get any more torpedoes, but with that last little bit of fire, I'm able to sort of milk up a little bit more damage. I think I ended up with like just over 150k damage. This Khabarovsk would actually end up killing the Zhao with a widespread torpedo, of all things. So, good job, Khabarovsk. And that pretty much does it for the battle. We actually win. And forgive the replay. Replay system is a bit glitchy right now. And sometimes when you record a replay, you have ships that do this. It's like they're all like, oh, it's like a weird skippy thing that they're doing. Anyways, all right. Other things I guess I want to talk about before right until the end of the battle is that yeah, this month there will be some Know Your Ship episodes. Same with early in December, and of course the ones I'm making this month and next month are going to be quite nice because I will be able to actually get footage of these ships from the museum visits. So hey, hope you're all looking forward to that. Anyways, here you go. Results screen was a victory. I got 435,000 credits, 9,630 experience. That's with the experience camo and of course flags. Got 152,000 damage, 10 fires, yay, 6 citadel hits, nice. Managed to get a flag assist, got some base defense, got a torpedo hit in there, 2 ships destroyed, 2,568 base experience, which is pretty good for an Ibuki in a tier 10 battle. And of course, there we go. This is my damage tally. Got 67,000 damage in HE, 31,000 from my AP, 10k from the torpedo, 43,000 from fires. And that's a wrap, folks. I hope this Ibuki video might have given you some additional pointers. If you happen to be playing Ibuki, do let me know, though, if your performance improves. Anyways, folks, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again soon.